Up with prayer. Merle Sanders, who's our State Sons of Amvets chaplain, will lead us in prayer. Then we're going to ask for the Pledge of Allegiance and say a few words. So, Merle, if everybody can rise and uncover, please.
Thank you, God, for everybody getting here safely today, and please let everybody get home safe and keep our troops safe. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
To the colors, please. Salute. I pledge
Allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody sit down, please. It's gonna be informal. But as those that know me know, I at least couldn't say something. First of all, I want to thank Don Deringer. Is Don in? He's probably running around. There he is. Don's coming in. Don is the post commander here at 99 Amvets. We're opening this up early. Don is also past state commander for a long time, and as those that know him, was actually 2011 Amvet of the Year, presented in Washington, D.C. at the Spring Silver Helmet Banquet, most prestigious award the Amvets give out. That's a big deal. Don is also responsible. He won't admit to this. I may get in trouble, but he's for four honor flights that have taken all your World War II vets to their memorial in D.C. 5 of them now. I'm sorry, more. That's what happens. I was going off memory, Don. So we have a lot of folks in here today, but I want to personally thank, and I don't think he's here yet, because there is a 4th District meeting coming at 1, which we'd have been greatly part of. We were not able to do that because of the timing. I want to thank Mike Rolfe, who's not here, because Mike had the email list to send out across the state. And actually, where I became part of Honor and Remember was through Mike, because he sent out a link. And he said, as you well know, if you know Mike sends out a lot of stuff. And you're almost sitting there, yeah, I know. Mike sent it out. We picked up an email one time from him, and that's how we got involved. But we're here to honor James and Marilyn Frantz, Lafayette, parents of Specialist Matthew C. Frantz, was killed in action 20th of January 2006 in Iraq. But I want to before I turn this to George, because he'll get into he's the founder of Honor and Remember, and he can get into his mission on this. But the Sons of Squadron 12 Muncie will be presenting their 6th Honor and Remember flag to a Gold Star family this September 8th at our 12th annual Signal Fire Flag Retirement Ceremony in Muncie. We started this in 2009 and have presented flags to a veteran and their family from World War II, Vietnam, a medic on the USS Cole, as you well know, was the ship that was rammed in the port of Yemen in 2000. 2 young Marines from the same unit who were killed 5 days apart, one from Bryan, Indiana, one from Richmond. And this will actually be the first year that we've ever presented a flag from Muncie, where our home is. And so we're kind of excited about that. It's a Vietnam veteran whose remains have never been recovered. He was a Specialist 5, Michael Lotzenheiser. His dad will be 93 in July. He was a World War II vet. He has another son that served in Vietnam the same time that Michael was killed in Vietnam. And it's just special for us. They've been to our signal fires before. He actually spoke 4 years ago. So it's our honor, and the family's just tickled that we would actually remember Michael in this type of presentation. But I belong also, as a number of you in here from the Sons of Amvets. We did not serve in uniform to this country. I like to think we're doing our service now. But we have a gentleman here that had a project last year from Indiana, from our squadron actually, Robert Hammond. It was a fundraiser for Honor and Remember. Well, he's a little disappointed that the money we raised has not been doled out that he would like to have seen. So I've been beating on him here for the last couple months to give us the money, or some of it. So 2 weeks ago at a National Weed Board meeting held in Muncie, Indiana, he authorized funding for 18 flags that are be already requested in the state of Indiana. So he gave us around, I don't know, $5,800 or so. And it's going to come out to Muncie, and we're going to distribute it through these flags that have been requested at this point in time, which we know when that's done will generate hopefully another 18 requests or many more. So I actually, the only thought I would say to the Gold Star families here, I'm going to personally thank you that your sons and daughters have given their tomorrows so that we can enjoy our todays. And with that, I would like to turn it over to George Lutz, who's the founder of Honor and Remember. We've had numerous emails and conversations over the last several years back, and this is his mission to go, and we're just trying to help him out the best we can, George.
Thank you.
We're here to help you however you need help.
Okay. Thank you all for being here. Commander, again, thank you for the use of your facility today. Very much appreciated by those here, by myself, the organization. The Amvets, I was privileged last year actually to be given an honorary lifetime membership to the Sons of Amvets last year. I was very humbled to be, was in Indianapolis, wasn't it? No, it was in St. Louis, Missouri last year. And to be a part of the organization. And they actually stormed Capitol Hill in 2011 and in support of the bill that we have in Congress to make Honor and Remember a national symbol. I'd also like to recognize any other Gold Star families that are in the room. I know we're honoring the Frantz family today in particular. We honor family after family after family, but that doesn't mean that every family is not equally given all to this country. If you are a Gold Star family, could you just stand up, please, and identify yourself so that we can honor you as well. Thank you. Thank you. Please, be seated. I'd like to also recognize a friend of mine from the Air Force, Steve Vaughn, who I travel with sometimes across the country, and he's brought his compatriot there with him, and he usually is traveling with two-star generals, but today he's gracing me by being a part of the ceremony. So thank you, Steve. Just to give you a little history as to why the heck I'm up here, if I can get through this. I can tell I'm a little emotional. It's because I kind of live my life that way. I live my life in the honoring of families that have given everything, because, and I will compose myself, as we know, men and women, husbands, sons and daughters are losing their lives every day. We don't all see that in the general public, but it's happening. I get DOD notices, through email, and I know in the last 2 weeks we've had 10 casualties from almost every branch of the service. Not many people know that. So we know that there is a price for freedom that is affecting the families for the rest of their lives. And these families here know what those families will be going through beginning at this point in their lives. The notification that they've already gotten, the plans now for services, and the communication to their friends and to their family members, and meeting the press and everything that's involved. Well, on December 30th of 2005, I got that knock on the door. And those two uniformed soldiers had those few simple words: "We regret to inform you that my son had been killed actually the day before in Fallujah by a sniper's bullet Now, the reason I was notified the next day is because my son was married and they needed to find his wife. And at that time, things have changed since '05, but at that time, next of kin was the spouse, that they were married, and the parents were secondary. And so we were notified the next day. But there isn't a big enough word, there isn't a terrible enough word to describe what that does to a family, how that affects them, how that changes their lives forever. You'll hear the terms new normal. It's a whole different plateau of figuring out where normal is. And I will tell you that so many things went through my head as to what I would do and how I would respond that, quite frankly, most of the time, I didn't know whether I wanted to be alive myself. Very, very difficult place to be. To know that your son will never walk through that door again. To know that you will never hear his voice. You tend to then gravitate to anything you can to hold on to that means something to you. Oh, bless you. Bless you. Anything that you can that would give you one more moment of remembering his life. So what would I do? You know, I can tell you what these parents did, exactly what I did. They started going through drawers and opening closets and looking for anything that they could that would remind them of their son or their daughter or their husband or whoever it might be. Anything that they could, because they wanted to hold on to it. And I will tell you, a slip of paper with a grocery list means the world, because it's written in your son's handwriting. I found many things in the closets. I found letters from Basic. Now, when they went to Basic, they weren't allowed to call home. They weren't allowed to use cell phones or texting, but they could write. And so I found, actually, my son wasn't a great writer, or a prolific one, but he happened to write 2 letters from basic training, which become gold. Believe me, they become gold. Well, there are only so many drawers and there are only so many closets that you can open. Eventually that comes to an end. And then once in a while, you'll find a book with a photograph or some memento that you hadn't seen before. And everything floods back. But when that process that stage of grieving is over, my son was married and he had 2 children. And so he had a life outside. He was 25 years old. He had a life outside of us. I mean, as parents, we raise our kids to be independent, go out on their own, and sometimes they don't ever look back. I mean, my parents didn't help me raise my kids. You know, I went on and, touch base with them, every once in a while. And that's what we want them to do, be independent, be productive members of society. And so I reached out to his friends because I wanted to know, what stories did they have? What could they tell me about him? Did they have any pictures? Any anecdotes? Anything that would give me one more day of his memory? Unfortunately, that comes to an end too. And it may end in a month, it may take a year or 2 years. Everyone is different. But still, there becomes a finite time frame to that process. And then I realized, well, he served in the Army. He loved what he did. His job was psychological operations. I don't know if you know what that means, but he worked in a 3-man team, and he was assigned to Marines mostly. He was in the Army, but never worked with the Army. He worked with mostly the Marines, sometimes the Air Force. They were kind of consultants to how to deal with the situation they were in, and not from a combat situation, but kind of how to diffuse the situation and to keep the loss of lives for the civilian population and their own population down as much as possible. So their motto was win the mind, win the day. So if they could convince you to drop your weapons and come out, And that's what they would do. They'd drop leaflets, they'd be the guys with the loudspeakers, things like that. And so he really loved what he was doing and being a part of that. And so I wanted to hear from his men. How did he do his job? Was he good at it? Did they have any stories that they could tell me about him? What happened to him that day? What did he have for breakfast? I wanted to know everything, every minute of what happened that day, and anything they could tell me in between. And so I reached out as best I could, but remember I said he was only in a three-man team. Well, one of his team members didn't really want to talk about it, and he left the Army, and I've never heard from him again. That only left his sergeant, who was so broken up because he promised my son's wife he would bring him home safe. It didn't happen. So he was so guilt-ridden that he's kind of, gone away from the scene. And that happens time after time after time. So there wasn't a lot of stories for me from what happened that day. I've been in touch with the sergeant from the Marine unit that they were with and one of the medics that tried to revive him. But other than that, that ended. What I'm trying to explain to you is that there's a finite process as we go along as family and as we go through this and we try to understand what's going on around us and what we're going to do with it and how we're going to really survive. It really is, they call us survivors in a sense because we are surviving almost on a daily basis many times. But at the end of that, I realized that, he died for his country. He died for every one of these people in a car driving up and down the street, for every one of those that are walking around in the mall doing whatever it is that they wanted to do. He gave his life for them. And I wanted to know, did anybody care? Did anybody even know? I mentioned earlier all the deaths in the last week. How many people know that? Not very many, I'll tell you that. Very few. You won't even hear them on the news unless they're right there in that town. And so I started to look for ways that this nation appreciated the sacrifice of those military men and women. I just wanted to embrace it. I wasn't looking for any way of, looking for any validation. I was just looking to embrace something because I needed the comfort as a dad. And I'll tell you, it probably took me 2 years to get out of the numbness that I was in from what had happened. Just to feel myself again and to wonder what I would do. And so as I looked around this country for ways that we show appreciation for our military, Steve can probably tell you that the military does a great job of remembering now themselves and their veterans and things like that, but it's a very small percentage of the population that really is military connected. And so I was looking for a way that this public showed appreciation. And I couldn't find anything. I honestly couldn't find any way that publicly we as a country appreciate the men and women that gave their lives. No way at all. Now I'll get to the one way that we all know about. But what I saw, and I talk from the heart, as you can tell, and everybody may not agree with me, but this is my personal journey. This is the only way I can explain it. The only thing that I could see, and you all can identify with this, are the banners and the magnets and the bumper stickers that say, support our troops. Right? Support our troops. Everybody, it's the patriotic thing to do, to have that phrase somewhere on something, because I will say, unfortunately, that in much of the public, it's a throwaway phrase more than a really meaningful one, but it's out there. My perspective, when my son lost his life, before he left, I had more yellow ribbons on more trees than I could count. right? Because I was praying for him. I was sending him packages. I was supporting him the best I could. But he didn't come home. And so that yellow ribbon didn't mean the same to me as it did before he left. And I thought to myself, it doesn't apply to him anymore. He's not one of them anymore. He's in a different category. I thought, where is his category? Where is his recognition? Because the price of freedom is the price of casualty. Where was his recognition? It didn't exist. Of course, my mind went immediately to Memorial Day. Okay, well, we have Memorial Day. We have a day set aside to remember our fallen. That's wonderful. We should have that. On Memorial Day, I think about my son every single day. Every day is Memorial Day to me. Why is it that if we walk under the freedoms, all of us, that we enjoy every single day, why is it we only get to remember him one day a year? Why is it we only focus one day a year? Why is that? Because everything we have, every reason we exist, is because they gave their lives and continue to give their lives. So why is one day enough? Okay, it's there. But I have to be honest with you. Before my son died, Memorial Day was just another day to me. It honestly was. I didn't think he wasn't coming home. Not even a thought that other people weren't coming home. To me, Memorial Day was an extra day off. Honestly, it was. I feel like I was the typical American. But you know what happened after that? I bought the biggest American flagpole that I could plant in my yard. I'm talking about one of the schoolyard aluminum flagpoles, and put the biggest flag I could out on that flagpole. Because I was proud. But that was me. Do you know that 80% of Americans, 80%, do not know what Memorial Day is for? 80%. Okay, so here I've told you that we have a day set aside to remember our fallen. It's called Memorial Day. But 80% of the country has no clue why it exists. So what good is it? What is it doing to remember those that sacrificed their lives? 400 lives in the last 12 months from one Memorial Day to another. Did anybody, honestly, I'm talking about not in your own circles, because we're also preaching to the choir here. Anybody hear the name of more than one or any of fallen from this state or anywhere in this country on Memorial Day? I didn't. Not the name of one of those 400. Just in the last 12 months, let alone the nearly 6,600, 6,700, the number that have died in Iraq and Afghanistan, and beyond that, and beyond that, and beyond that. Nobody is recognizing any names. And I thought, nobody gets it. The public. I'm not talking again, the military, the veterans, they understand. They understand. But there's 99% of the population, or the 80% if you want to be liberal about it, who really don't know. So how do you get their attention? What do you do to say, my son died for you? You can't get on the news. You can't put it in the newspaper because too many people listen and react to too many different people, personalities, whatever. It's a flip and it's gone. I started attending the funerals after my son and others who had been killed because I needed it. I needed to meet those families. I needed to be able to say, I'm going through it. You're going to make it. I'm here if I can help. Whatever. It's part of my own healing, hopefully a part of their healing. But as I've started to attend these funerals, and I've now met thousands of Gold Star families, thousands of Gold Star families in every state in this country, I saw the POW flag. I saw the POW flag. Do we have one up here? No. Everyone recognizes what that is and what it means. Remember, I said I was looking for that public recognition. I was looking for that way that people showed a way to display how they appreciated that price of freedom. And I thought to myself, wow, what an honor. Oh, there's one on your vest. The POW flag was given, and I've now met many former POWs, was given as a reminder to this country that there were men, women, mostly men, who were over in Southeast Asia missing or in prison and needed to be brought home. That needed to be called attention to in this country. And so it was a widow who brought this up to attention. They created this flag and they put it out there across this country. And I thought, what an honor that was. I said, but where's the fallen? Where's something for the fallen? How come the fallen don't have something? There were 58,000, and there's a difference in numbers, plus that died in Vietnam. That's just Vietnam. I don't know how many POWs there were, but less than 2,000. The POWs were represented, but those that gave their lives were not, that I could see in any tangible, real way. I thought that's what the fallen need. The fallen need a symbol that represents them. They have no voice. That specifically, when you see this, recognizes that sacrifice. But beyond that, the families that they left behind. Because the interesting thing is, they have no voice, but be honest, they're not here. They don't care whether we remember them or not. They don't know if we remember them or not. That's a respectful thing, it's a reverence thing in our hearts. But they don't know. But who does know? The families they left behind. They're the ones that we reach to. They're the ones that need to be comforted and hugged and said, you know, I can't give you what you want, but I can give you appreciation. I can thank you because your son went and put his life on the line for me. My son didn't do it. You understand what I'm saying? My son, when he walked in the door and said he joined the Army, I told him, do you know there's a war going on? I mean, he had already joined. He didn't ask my permission. I said, do you know there's a war going on? He said, I know. And they need our help. Most every family in the country, be honest, would rather somebody else's son died than their own. They just would. It's a natural thing. But yet, their sons did die. They did. So, what does it hurt to be appreciative? In a grand and public way. Thank you. What you did, very few ever have done for this country. Those vets in the room signed a blank check saying, Steve, they're still in. Up to and including my very own life, I will defend this country and do whatever I'm told in defense of other nations, helpless nations. Thank you for your service. Thank you for coming home. They can be identified. You see the hats? When you see the military out in uniform, of course, Steve's not in uniform, he usually is. Sorry, I'm picking on you, Steve. But you can identify them. If I hadn't asked the families to stand up in this room and they weren't wearing a button with their loved one's picture on it, would you know who they were? No. You wouldn't have any idea who they were because they're just us, right? But yet, if there was a symbol, if there was something that you could show them that appreciates that sacrifice, and you could hang it outside your building or outside your home or at your church or wherever it may be, and they know what that means, then you have spoken, you have communicated to a group you don't even know exists or where they exist, but they're driving by every day. Cousins, parents, spouses who have lost a loved one. I can't tell you how many people I run into every day who said, I lost my uncle in Vietnam. My uncle's son was over here, and he didn't come home. My dad, I lost him in World War II. I don't talk about it. It's everywhere. And there's no way to show the appreciation of that. Because the appreciation of that recognizes the fact that we have everything in this country. We can do anything, say anything, be anything we want to because of the freedom that has been given to us. And so, I know I'm long-winded, but I really want you to understand this, the importance of this. The Honor and Remember flag was established 4 years ago on Memorial Day to be that national symbol of remembrance, to be that symbol that the public could display. Hold it as high as you can. That the public could display that would recognize the sacrifice of those that gave their lives from all generations, all branches of service, all causes of death. It was established to be a national symbol of remembrance, just like the POW was established to be a national reminder of those that were missing or captured. And 4 years ago, on Memorial Day of 2008, I unveiled this flag publicly to the nation. The symbolism behind this flag, very simple. I don't have to tell many of you what it means, but I will, so you know you heard it from me. The red field represents the sacrifice of bloodshed for our country. American flag red. The white, the purity of that sacrifice, because every one of those men and women and every one of you vets in the room, in combat or not, said to your families, we've got it covered. We know the mission. We'll be back. Don't worry. Purity of heart. The blue star in the center goes back to World War I, when a solid blue star was hung on the windows and doors of military families who had someone out in active duty. We use that term now, blue star mothers, blue star families, people that have active duties. Many of you are blue star family members in this room. The gold star overlaid that blue star, again going back to World War I, when that loved one was not coming home. That's where we get the term gold star family, gold star mother, gold star wife, gold star father. There are so many in this country that have no clue what a gold star means. Many in the military don't know what a gold star means, unfortunately. But it's true. It's just a fact that that term needs to be educated in this country. If I had my way, nobody would ever use the term gold star for anything else but for the sacrifice made for this country. The folded flag beneath those stars reminds us of a flag that was handed to a family at the memorial of their loved one. The flames above it, an eternal reminder. We'll never forget, we'll never forget, we'll never forget. A reminder that we will never forget. And those are some of the words that I would hear as I was listening for those things to gravitate to. Was, oh yeah, we're not going to forget. Well, we're not. And the words below, we will always honor their sacrifice and remember them specifically by name. And it is our goal as an organization to do several things. One is to establish this as a national symbol, to establish it in every state in this country, individually, as a state symbol of remembrance. We have 14 states that have already done so. But more importantly, is to recognize the name of every single individual who has given their lives for this country publicly. And that is the heart of what we do, because I wanted, and this is just me talking, I wanted to give a gift. You don't know this, many of you in the room, but the Gold Star families get gifts. You guys can fold that up. Thank you. Thank you. When, at the time of loss, there is an initial outpouring for the first several months. And there'll be cards, and there'll be letters, and there'll be photographs, and there'll be quilts, and there'll be paintings, and there'll be every kind of imaginable thing that will come to these families in the first 12 months maybe. I mean, it all kind of goes away. But those are all things that are put on shelves and hung on walls and kept personal. As I was going through that grief, I wanted to give a gift too. And I thought, what could be the biggest gift that I could think of? And I thought, that gift has got to be public recognition. It's got to be public thanks and appreciation. And that is basically where the flag concept began to come from. But I mentioned, stay here. I mentioned that it is our goal to recognize individuals by name. And so that gift not only is that public symbol of appreciation for all of us to fly, every one of us can fly, but it's to give that also that personal gift to every family in America. We have been doing this now for 4 years and presented nearly 1,000 flags to every generation, every generation. 2 weeks ago, I presented a flag to a descendant of a Revolutionary War hero. Now, it's not that I'm going back necessarily and going to present one to every Revolutionary War hero descendant, but I had to make a point. And that point was that this flag does stand for every single generation in this country, every parent who sent a child to fight for freedom, regardless of whether they're still living or not, went through that same grieving process in their generation as we are going through today. And that loss needs to be recognized in reverence to the price of freedom. Now I'd ask James. Marilyn, you're kind of up here. But James, come up here. I've known the Frantz family now for, gosh, almost since I began, I believe. And it is our goal, as I said, to make sure that every family is presented a personalized flag. Bill, you can stand up for a few minutes?
I'm good.
Okay. And so we do that not by necessarily reaching out to families. We have been reaching out initially, but for families reaching out to us and saying we want to be a part of it. We want to be presented. We want to be on the list. Unfortunately, there are many on the list. Marilyn, I believe, probably has been waiting for this moment for 3 years, probably, at least 3 years. And I apologize for the length of time it takes. But anyway, we're here. And I appreciate both of them, but it has nothing to do with me even knowing them, honestly, because I don't know many families until I meet them now. But this Honor and Remember flag in my hand is tri-folded. And it's tri-folded for a reason, because it mirrors this American flag that was tri-folded and handed to the family. But that American flag was meant to be tri-folded and stay tri-folded forever, and reverently encased into a shadow box, never to be unfolded, but only to be kept in appreciation. The Honor and Remember flag, this is the only time it will be folded like this, because it's meant to be a public display of appreciation. And it mirrors it, but yet it is meant to be shown in celebration of a life, not in memoriam. And so this Honor and Remember flag is prepared This Honor Remember flag is presented with eternal gratitude and respect in memory of Specialist Matthew Curtis Frantz. With this flag, we honor this patriot's unwavering dedication and remember his selfless sacrifice. By displaying this symbol collectively as a nation, we humbly recognize the enormity of your loss. And respectfully say thank you. James.
Thank you, George.
It's hard to know where to go from here, but this is why we exist. To make sure that no one is ever forgotten, regardless. And the Amvets organization is helping us to make sure that not only Indiana families are remembered, but wherever they exist, other families will be remembered. And why it's so important to be able to share this with friends and people really who don't know yet and need to know the importance of what we do and what it means to the families that will be grieving for the rest of their lives. So God bless you guys for being here. Do you guys want to say anything? No? You don't have to. No.
Thank you, George.
And with that, thank you for being a part of it. And,